Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this granny square here. It's quite a large granny square. It's about 12 inches across, and it's really not hard. It does take a little bit of time to make, but it's not hard at all to make. I do have a written pattern for this granny square, and I'll put a link to that below in the description box. And I did make a jacket out of this granny square also. I don't have a pattern for the jacket, but I do have a link to the free video tutorial. So if you're interested in making the jacket that I made out of that, I'll put a link to the free video tutorial below in the description box of this too. Remember, I don't have a pattern for the jacket of how to sew it together, only the video, but I do have a pattern for this, so I'll put that down below. But you don't have to make the jacket I made. You can make anything you want. I think this would look pretty as an Afghan, a top, a skirt, anything. You can make anything out of this. You don't have to follow me. So just use your imagination, and whatever your heart desires you can make out of this. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, for this project I use Lion Brand Mandala yarn. It's actually a lightweight number 3 yarn, and it's 100% acrylic. Now there's 590 yards in this skein, and I was able to get about 5 of those large grannies out of this skein. I know that won't really seem like a lot for the yardage. I was actually kind of shocked too, but since it's such a thin yarn, you just don't get quite as much out of it. But you don't have to use this yarn. You don't even have to use a lightweight number 3. You can use a regular 4-ply. The granny square is going to look just the same. It's just going to be bigger. So, I mean, that would be the difference. So if you don't want to use a lightweight, I particularly do not like using lightweight. This will be the only time that I probably ever used this. I mean, it's beautiful, but I probably won't ever use it again because I just despise lightweight yarns for some reason. I hate them. But the color I'm using is Warlock. So remember, you can use a 4-ply. It's going to look the same. It's just going to be bigger than 12 inches. I mean, I wouldn't recommend a 5 bulky or anything like that, but a 4-ply will work too. It's just going to be bigger. And then I used a which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook for mine. Okay, you want to start off with a slip knot on your hook, and then we're going to work a chain of 4. And I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. Now if you want to use the magic circle here, that will work too. I'm no good at the magic circle, so I don't ever use it. Okay, now we're going to do a chain of 3, which is going to count as our first double crochet. So we want to work 11 more double crochets through the center of the ring. So counting this chain 3 will have a total of 12. So we'll go right on through and work 11 more double crochets through the ring. Okay, I've done my 11, so counting that chain 3, you should have a total of 12 double crochets now. What you want to do is end round 1 with a slip stitch in the top of your beginning chain 3. Just like that. And that'll end round 1. And you can pull your tail usually and make that center circle close up a bit like that. Okay, for round 2, what we're going to do is chain 3, which is going to count again as our first double crochet. And now I'm going to put one more double crochet right back in that same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and go right through that same spot that I slip stitched into and double crochet. And now I'm going to work 2 double crochets in every stitch all the way around. So I'm going to go over here to my next stitch right here and work 2 double crochets into it, and then 2 double crochets in my next stitch, and 2 double crochets in every single stitch all the way back around to the beginning. And when you get back around, you should have a total of 24 stitches at the end of round 2. Okay, once you make it back around and you have your 24 stitches, again we're going to end round 2 by slip stitching into the top of the beginning chain 3. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to start round 3 by working a chain of 4. Now this chain 4 counts as a double crochet with a chain 1. Now I'm just gonna go to the next stitch and double crochet the very next stitch and put 1 double crochet into it, and then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch and chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch and chain 1, and I'm going to do that all the way around. 1 double into the next stitch, chain 1, double into the next stitch, chain 1, and I'm going to do that until I get back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have a total of 24 double crochets and 24 chain 1 spaces at the end of round 3. Okay, I've made it all the way around and I just did my last double crochet. You want to make sure you chain 1 after that one. And now we're going to end by slip stitching into the 3rd stitch of our beginning chain 4. And that ends round 3. Okay, for round 4 we're going to slip stitch 1 time to this first chain space. So go ahead and slip stitch right over there to that. And now we're going to do a round of V-stitches. So I'm going to start off with a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet plus a chain 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet right back into that same chain space. And that's going to form our beginning V-stitch. And now what I'm going to do is work a V-stitch in every single chain space all the way around. So I'm going to jump to the next chain space and I'm going to work a double crochet, a chain 1, and another double crochet right through the same chain space. So that's my V-stitch. And I'm going to jump here to the next chain space and I'm going to do it again. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Again, into the next chain space, double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet. So I'm going to work a V-stitch in every single one of these chain 1 spaces until I get back around to the beginning. And when I get back around, I should have a total of 24 V-stitches. Okay, I've made it back around and I have my 24 V-stitches, and I'm going to end round 4 by slip stitching into the 3rd chain of my beginning chain 4. And that will end round 4. So that's what it looks like so far. Now I'm going to do a row of cluster stitches. So what I'm going to do is slip stitch over to my first chain space, or the middle of my first V stitch. So just slip stitch 1 time there and chain 1. And this is how we do the cluster. We're going to yarn over, go through the chain space and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. And we want to do that 4 times total. So that was 1. So yarn over, go through, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. That's 2 times. Yarn over, go through, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops again. That's 3 times. 1 more time. Yarn over, go through, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and you'll have 5 loops remaining. Yarn over and go through all 5 loops on your hook. So that's how we do our cluster stitch. And then we're going to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work a cluster stitch plus a chain 3 in every one of these V-stitches. So we're going to go ahead and jump to the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch. So I'm going to start by yarning over and go right into the chain space, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. And remember, we want to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2 times, three times, and 4 times, and you can look and see the 4 stitches there, and you'll have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 5 loops, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to repeat it again. So we're going to jump to the chain 1 space of our next V-stitch. Start by yarning over, go right into the space and drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. We need to do that 4 times. Again, yarn over, go into the space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the space, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. One more time, yarn over, go into the same space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, 5 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 5, and then we work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do that in every single one of these chain 1 spaces of the V-stitches. So I'm going to do it again to the next one. Yarn over, go through all 5 loops, and chain 3. So I'm going to continue this working 1 cluster and a chain 3 in every single one of these chain 1 spaces in the middle of the V-stitches until I get back around to the beginning. And you should have a total of 24 clusters and 24 chain 3 spaces at the end of round 5. Okay, I've come to the end of round 5, and I just did my last cluster, so you want to make sure you chain 3 after that last one. And then we're going to end by slip stitching right here into the top of our first cluster. So it's this little space, or this little stitch right here. And that ends round 5. So we're going to start round 6, and we're going to start making our chain spaces. So we're going to slip stitch 1 time just right over here to this first chain 3 space, and then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go back into that same chain space and single crochet like that, and then I'm going to work a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to jump to my next chain space and I'm going to single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jump to my next chain 3 space here, go right through it, and single crochet. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to my next chain 3 space and single crochet. So I'm just going to keep repeating that all the way around. Chain 5. Go to my next chain 3 space and single crochet. And then when you get all the way around, you should have 24 of these chain 5 spaces when you get to the end of round 6. Okay, I'm coming around here, and I've done 23 chain 5 spaces, and I'm going to show you how we're going to end the last one. So here's where we started right here, and I need to do one more. So instead of chain of 5, I'm going to do a chain of 3. This is how we're going to end round 6. And then I'm going to do a half double into this very first single crochet that we made. So yarn over and go right through it and do a half double crochet into that single crochet. Half doubles, go through all 3 of them like that. And that kind of brings you to the middle of this chain. Now that still counts as a chain 5, even though it was a chain 3 and a half double. So you should have 24 chain spaces now. And now we're going to start again, and we're going to start right here in this chain space. that we ended in. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to go right back through it and single crochet. See, by doing it, ending it that way, it brought us in the middle of the chain space to start again. So now we're going to do a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to jump to my next chain space and single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jump to my next chain space and single crochet. So we're just repeating the last round, except for we're doing chain 6s instead of chain 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and single crochet into the next chain space. And I'm going to do this all the way around, and I will meet you over here at the beginning, and I'll show you how to end this round, because we're going to end it a little different too. So chain 6, single crochet into the next chain space, chain 6, single crochet, and repeat all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 7, and I just did my last chain 7, and I single crocheted into this chain space, and here is my beginning right here. So I need to do one more chain space to make it 24 chain spaces, because that's how many we need. So how I'm going to end this one is I'm going to do a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to double crochet into this first single crochet. So I'm going to yarn over and go into that first single crochet and do a double crochet like that, and that still is counting as a chain 6, and you should have 24 chain spaces now at the end of round 7. Let's still make sure we are on round 7. Okay, now for round 8, we're going to start again right here in this chain space that we left off in. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to go right back into it and single crochet, and now we'll be right in the middle of that chain space, and that's where we want to be. Now we're going to do a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and single crochet into the next chain space. So it's just like the rounds previous before. We're just doing a chain 7 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, single crochet into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and single crochet into the next chain space. So you want to repeat this all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 8, and here is where I started. Here is the last single crochet I did. Now we're not going to do anything special to end this round. All we're going to do is chain 7 and then slip stitch into that first single crochet there, just like that. And now you should have chain spaces at the end of round 8. Now we're going to start squaring off our circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting like the corner right here in this chain space. So we're going to slip stitch one time over to that first chain space like that. Now remember these clusters here? We're going to do that up here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start by chaining 1, and then I'm going to work one of those clusters in this chain space. So I'm going to yarn over, go in, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and I need to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll have 5 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and go through all 5, and now we're going to work a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do a larger cluster consisting of triple crochets. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. We're going to yarn over twice, like we're going to do a triple crochet. We're going to be working in the same chain space, and we're going to go in and drop a loop, and we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and then we're going to yarn over and go through the next 2 loops on our hook. And we want to do that a total of 4 times. So that was 1. So again, we're going to yarn over twice, go through the space and drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. So that was 2 times. Again, yarn over twice, go in, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. So that was 3 times. You can see them right there. One more time, yarn over twice, go into the space and drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. And you're still going to have 5 loops left on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 5, and that's how you do a triple crochet cluster. This is actually a double crochet cluster. This one's triple. Now we're going to chain 4, and we're going to put another double crochet cluster right here in the same space again. So we're going to yarn over with that chain 4 on our hook and go through the space, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and we need to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over and go through all 5 loops. Now we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to single crochet into our next chain space, like that. And now we're going to do a chain 5 and single crochet, and we need to do that 4 times across. So chain 5 now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and single crochet. So that was 1 time. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet into the next chain space. That was 2 times. Chain 5, 4, 5, single crochet into the next chain space. That was 3 times. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet into the next chain space. So you should have 4 chain 5 spaces across. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this right here is the chain 4 space. So we got 4 chain 5 spaces and 1 chain 4 space. Now we're going to form another corner again in this next chain space. And we're going to start by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do a double crochet cluster right here, just like we did over here. So we're just going to yarn over with that chain on our hook, go through the next chain space, and do our cluster, the double crochet cluster. Five loops on our hook, yarn over and go through all 5, and then we chain 4 again. And now we need to do our triple crochet cluster in the same stitch. So with this chain 4 still on our hook, we're going to yarn over twice, go through, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through the next 2. So we need to do that 4 times. That was once, yarn over twice again, yarn over, go through the first 2 and the next 2. That's 2 times. Again, yarn over twice, go in the same space, drop a loop, yarn over once, go through the first 2, yarn over again, go through the next 2. That's 3 times. Again, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go go through the next 2, so that's 4 times. You'll have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 5, and that's your triple cluster. Now we're going to chain 4, and we're going to do another double crochet cluster in the same spot again. So with that chain 4 on our hook, we're going to yarn over and do our double crochet cluster. And then we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to single crochet into our next chain space. Now we need to do our chain 5 single crochet 4 times again. So we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet into our next chain space. So that was once, chain 5, single crochet into our next chain space. That was twice, single crochet into our next chain space. That's 3 times, single crochet into our next chain space. So that was 4 times. And then what we're going to do is chain 4, and then we'll, in the next chain space, we'll start our clusters or our corner again. So we'll go ahead and do the double crochet together, chain 4, triple crochet cluster together, chain 4, and do a double crochet cluster in the same spot. Chain 4, single crochet into the next chain space, and then we're just going to repeat doing the chain 5 single crochet 4 times. So this is what it starts to look like. This is what you'll have in between each corner. You'll have 2 chain 4 spaces right here, and then you'll have 4 chain 5 spaces. So here's a chain 4 right before this cluster, chain 4 right before this cluster, and then you got your 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 5 spaces. And over here it's the exact same. Chain 4 before this cluster, chain 4 before this cluster, 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 5 spaces. So you just want to keep repeating that until you get back around to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 9, and I just did my single crochet chain 5 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I single crocheted. Now what I want to do, this is what it should look like at the end. I want to do a chain of 4, and then I want to slip stitch into my first double crochet cluster. So right there on the side of it, just like that. That's how we end that. So it's kind of starting to look a little bit like a wonky square. I guess I'll get it squared up eventually. So what I'm going to do is just do 1 slip stitch right over here to this first chain 4 space, and I am going to do a chain of 4, which is going to count as a triple crochet. And I want to do a total of 4 triple crochets in this chain 4 space, this being our first one. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3 more triple crochets. Okay, so counting that chain 4, we got 4 triples in that chain 4 space. Now right here at the top of this triple crochet cluster, in that little stitch right there, that's where we're going to work. we're going to work 2 triple crochets, a chain 2, and 2 triple crochets, and that's going to form the point to one of our 4 corners. So go ahead and yarn over twice and go right through that stitch and do a triple crochet, another triple crochet, so that was 2 triple crochets, chain 2, and 2 more triple crochets all into that same stitch. Just like that, and that formed a point, the first point to our square. Now I'm going to jump right over here to this next chain 4 space, and I'm going to do 4 triple crochets. 1, 2, 3,
4,
and 4. I had a little helper there counting me, if you heard him. And now I'm going to jump over here to this chain 4 space, and I'm going to work 4 double crochets into this chain 4 space. 4 doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm at the chain 5 spaces. So I'm going to work 5 double crochets into this first chain 5 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to work 5 half double crochets into the next 2 chain 5 spaces. Half double crochets. So I'm going to go through it and work 5 half doubles in the first one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then in the next one, 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in the next chain 5 space I'm going to work 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this next space right here is a chain 4 space, and we're going to work 4 double crochets into that space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to kind of repeat what we just did. So I'm going to jump right here into this next chain space, and I'm going to work 4 triple crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we got this triple crochet cluster, and right here in the top of it, pull it apart, you can see that stitch. That's where we're going to work our corner. We're going to put 2 triples, a chain 2, and 2 triples in that stitch. So right in through it, there's 1 triple, 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 more triples. And that formed our second point of our square. So it's kind of starting to get a little bit more squared off as we go. Okay, 4 triple crochets into this next chain 4 space. And there's 4. I'm sorry about that cat walking across the desk. I didn't mean for him to be a oh, his tail. I'm sorry. Steven, get over here. I'm sorry. Okay, just like that. And this next spot right here is the chain 4 space. So we're going to go ahead and do 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're at our chain 5 spaces again. So it's 5 double crochets into the first chain 5 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now it's 5 half doubles in each of the next chain 2 spaces. Half doubles. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 half doubles into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 doubles into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're at our chain 4 space, so we put 4 doubles into that chain 4 space. And now we're just going to repeat. So if you look at it, what we have is we have our corners, and then 4 triple crochets after the corner, 4 double crochets after the corner, 5 double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 double crochets, 4 double crochets, and then 4 triple crochets, and then we do our corner again, 2 triple, chain 2, 2 triple, and then we just repeat that again. 4 triple crochets, 4 double crochets, 5 double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 double crochets, and then 4 double crochets, and then we start our next corner. So I'm just going to repeat that all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it to the end of round 10, I just did 4 double crochets in this chain space, and I'm going to end round 10 by slip stitching into the top of my beginning chain 4. And now you should have a total of 160 stitches plus 4 chain 2 spaces. So it's kind of starting to look like a square. You do got to give it a little bit of a stretch to straighten these chains out. These chain spaces get a little bit matted up, but I'll do that more at the end. So we got one more round, and it's pretty easy. So we're just going to start off with a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Now I'm going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch until I get to my first chain 2 space. Okay, when I get to my chain 2 space, every chain 2 space is going to be the work the same. It's going to be 2 triple crochets through the chain 2 space, triples, a chain of 2, and then 2 more triples in the same space. And that forms our corner. Just like that. Now I'm going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every single stitch across until I get to my next corner. Now it's important that you get this very first stitch. Sometimes you have to pull this back to get it, because sometimes it hides underneath these triple crochets, but make sure you get that or your stitches aren't going to end up right. But that double crochet right there in that first stitch, and double crochet in every stitch until you get to your next chain 2 space. No more half doubles or anything. We're just doing straight double crochets all the way across. Okay, I've made it to my next chain 2 space, so I'm going to go into the space and work 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 more triples, all into that same chain 2 space. And again, I'm just going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch all the way down till I get to my next corner, and I'm just going to keep repeating this until I get to the end. And remember that not to forget this first stitch, because sometimes he gets hidden and we don't want that. Double crochet in him, and then double crochet in all the rest until we get to our next corner, and then we just do our corner, 2 triple, chain 2, 2 triple, and then we just repeat until we get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it to the end. I just did my last double crochet, and I want to end around 11 by slip stitching into the top of my beginning chain 3, and then I can tie this off. Now you should have a total of 176 stitches, 176 at the end of round 11. Now what I always do is I kind of just straighten it up. I pull the corners and pull these, get them all straightened up. They look a little bit more square. These chains, they really need to be kind of pulled, or they get the single crochets right in the middle of them, or they tend to get all wadded up looking. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's good to kind of get them spread apart a little bit. But that is it. That's my square. Pretty easy. It does take a little bit of time, I guess, because it's a larger square, but that's all there is to it. I am making a jacket out of this, out of some of these squares. If you're interested in making that or seeing it, I'll put a link to that below in the description box so you can check that out. Otherwise, you can make whatever you want out of these squares. Actually, you know, the possibilities are endless. But I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, where you can post all your crochet items on there. And you can follow me on Instagram also. I'll put links to all that stuff below. And remember, I'll put a link to the granny square jacket that I made below too, if you want to check that out. But otherwise, until next time, have a good day.